Welcome to Moon Harbor Heroes. Today's issue is Faces, issue 19, Date Night. On the cover, Lighthammer and Rider Typhen are holding hands in the center of a large, lavishly decorated ballroom. Around them, we see a swarm of sharply dressed heroes, saber higher-ups, and other notables from the city. Leo stands right behind Rider, watching the pair. In the background, we can see Mutagen glaring daggers at Lighthammer. We turn the page and our story begins. This issue opens in the newly rebuilt town hall in one of the large, ballrooms of it. And on stage, we have two members of our team. We have Rider and we have Lighthammer. Also on stage, we see a variety of heroes, outlets there. All people who participated in Blockade. It's a big award ceremony recognizing the efforts of certain heroes in the Blockade event. Notably, no one from Cataclysm Crew is there, but we see Anagram and Sword. You each want to toss in one or two other people that are there, either being recognized or just in the crowd.
We see a table with the adult team at them. Recently unmasked, discovered in the Cataclysm Crew games, with a particular focus on Bomb Squad, who's chatting it up with some city official.
You also will see Leo is sitting in the crowd, and strangely, sitting towards the back of the room is the teenage clerk who runs Cold War.
Okay, fantastic. That is not what I expected. I love it. Dress-wise, everyone is in either... Some people are still wearing full costumes. The people who don't mind being on costume are kind of dressed to the nines. We have, waiters in, full tuxedos walking around with trays of appetizers. So we cut into this with Franklin Lamont finishing up a speech about the hero's intervention and protecting us from unknown threats from above. I don't think we've ever gotten a visual description of the city councilman before, and I don't think any of our heroes know, but he has been mentioned before as Mutagen, one of the classic Lighthammer villains. We probably get a editor's note to that effect. T, do you have a visual description in mind for him?
He is a very, very tall man. He's 6'8". Doesn't look superhuman, just regular human. He is very broad-shouldered, constantly in a suit. He is a black man, and he has very, very dark eyes, dark brown eyes.
Okay, excellent. And we get this pulled back shot. What are Lighthammer and Rider dressed up now? I assume you're both in full costume. Just wanted to check.
Oh, I'm in full costume. Lighthammer's armor has been recently buffed, so the silver and gold are much, much shinier, and the teal is much, much shinier. And his abs and chest, we know that he wears the open spandex shirt that leaves the middle of his torso revealed. That is still uncovered, and it looks like he may be covered in body oil because it looks way shinier than usual.
Ryder will be in full costume as well. The blue and gold variant costume.
Excellent. And just out of curiosity, how's Leo dressed?
He is in a tux. Very nice, very nicely dressed. I want to point out that every panel of the crowd has, every panel that shows the crowd will have the guy from Cold War somewhere in the background, and he's really poorly drawn and really poorly dressed for the event.
I like that. And as Lamont's finishing his speech, an attendant walks down, puts a ribbon with a medal on it around each person on the stage's neck. And then Lamont kind of gestures the crowd and goes, and unless any of the heroes up here want to say a few words and delay the buffet anymore. And I'm pausing because I assume Lighthammer is jumping in, if I'm reading Lighthammer right.
Ryder is going to grab Lighthammer's wrist and go, "Not now. I'm hungry."
When Ryder grabs Lighthammer's wrist, I'm just gonna shift my hand so that we're just holding hands, lean over and kiss Ryder on the cheek. I'm currently not wearing my helmet. My helmet is probably at my table.
Is it streaming?
It's absolutely streaming. Yeah, it's definitely pointing towards the stage and streaming. And there's the chair in front has a big do not cross sign on the back of it. So people do not cross in front of this chair.
That's fantastic. And I think from there, the crowd kind of, or the people start stepping off the stage. The crowd kind of breaks up a bit as people are going over and getting buffet. And I'm going to hand the scene over to you all from here for a bit.
I think there's a table with like all the honorees. I think there's like the grown-up hero table and then like the lesser known and kid table, and I think we're at that table. So like we're not sitting with like Glacier or any of the big names. We're at the table with like what would be the rest of the Faces team, but Carl didn't get an invite.
Carl and Brian had other plans tonight.
I don't think I'm gonna get in line for the buffet yet. I think I'm gonna go and like grab the helmet and like click a couple buttons on it and like get it all turned off and reset and stuff. And I think I'm gonna like grab a seat and grab what is probably a glass of wine, even though I'm underage, and start drinking.
Ryder's just going to kind of break off and head to the buffet and go get himself a plate of food and then come back to the table, look over at Lighthammer drinking the wine and go, isn't it a bit early for that?
I look over at Ryder and I look at the plate of food in his hands and I'm like, wait, no, you were supposed to get me a plate too. Yeah, I thought you knew that. I thought you knew that's why I was gonna go sit down.
You have legs? You know how they work?
I like look Ryder directly in the eyes and take a long, slow sip of wine. I think it takes like 4 panels for me to sip the wine. And then I put it down with like a very like definitive onomatopoeia click. And then I'm like, fine, I guess I'll do it myself. Like some kind of peasant. And I get up and I walk across the room. And my cape is like flowing far too dramatically because I'm strutting far too dramatically. And it is like hitting people in the face as I walk through this like crowded ballroom.
Oh, excellent. And I think the panel is showing you at the buffet doing this all kind of from Ryder's perspective. Ryder, what are you doing with this? Are you going to sit and eat? What's your thing?
So Ryder looks over and watches Lighthammer go to get their food and go get his food. And then as he sees Lighthammer get to the buffet bar and all dramatically, he's going to turn around and eat his food and try to engage in small talk. It's not going to be anything important, but try to engage with small talk with the other recipients at the table.
Cool. I'm going to add a couple things to these panels. The last panel we get of Lighthammer dramatically flipping his cape, it smacks and like knocks the plate out of the hand of the intern. And then we see Ryder sitting down and turning to his plate, looking up, and Anagram is sitting across the table from him, giving a weird little smile, like, hey, we met briefly. Do you remember me?
Weren't you... Wait, wasn't Brian controlling you? I thought you were a robot.
Yeah, I was inside, but Asimov was driving. And she holds out her hand, and she is dressed in a sundress that is has a tuxedo pattern on it, because that's my jam right there. And she holds her hand out. I'm Anagram.
I extend my hand out and say, nice to meet you, Anagram. I'm Ryder Typhen.
She shakes your hand, and you know she's a robot. You've seen her robot parts, but her hand feels very much human. She sits down across from you. She notably does not have a plate. And she kind of leans back and then sighs and goes, I'm really sorry to bring some bad stuff into what should be a happy occasion, but I've been trying to get a hold of your friend. I believe her name is Faye.
As she says that, the smile on Ryder's face like just vanishes. What do you know about Faye? Why are you looking for her?
Okay, so it's a little hard to explain, but either she's in a lot of trouble right now, or she can help us get out of trouble soon. I'm not really sure which yet. All I know is I think I need to find her.
And if I may inquire, how do you know this?
I kind of see the future, and I'm from the future. It's real complicated. Just, can you trust me on this one, or?
I'm not one to trust easily, but you did help us take down the Astrons, and you let Brian drive. So
Yeah, go ahead and roll to pierce the mask.
that was a 3. That was a miss.
I love that we have the same mundane, because mine is also a miss too.
Fantastic.
This is a social game, and we're both gonna fuck it up.
So to finish
Okay.
his state, I don't even know. Like, he kind of trails off. Instead of finishing his statement, he just kind of trails off and just looks at Anagram and and then he just goes back to stuffing his face because he's like his thought just trailed off completely.
I'd like you to ask one of the questions from the list.
So in between stuffing my face, I'm gonna look up at her and be like, "For what are you? So what do you want me to do?"
I need to know where Faye is. You know how good Saber is at finding people, and I've brought my full resources to bear, and I can't find her. Where is she?
That I don't know. Last we saw, she vanished into some. You know what? Why don't you come back with me and Lighthammer to my hideout? I'll let you in, and we'll see what my computer can find.
She kind of looks at you, like definitely noticing that you were about to tell her something and didn't, and then reaches out, grabs your wrist, and she lifts her glasses up a little bit and projects from her eyes, and you see this series of like maroon swirling images. I'm going to have you roll Anagram's move for me, and I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want her to be seeing who you are in the future or who Faye is in the future?
I'll say this: who I am in the future.
So you are going to be marking a condition. I'm having you take the full effects of this move, but you're going to be rolling with her.
Yay!
So mark a condition and roll +1.
I'm gonna take insecure because I'm unsure what's going on.
Okay.
That's a decent roll. It's a 10.
Okay. You get to choose one of these positions for yourself in the future. Are you the traitor, the martyr, the builder, or the leader?
The martyr.
Okay, excellent. So we see these vague maroon images that are like a lot of indistinct details, but then we see a panel where what is clearly a representation of Rider Typhen, like stands tall holding your sword. And behind Rider, we can see just tons of crude representations of people. It looks like hundreds of people. And you hold off this just massive swirling mass of this maroon. And then we see you fall and everyone behind you safe. You can ask a follow-up question. You can do it in character or out, either way.
Ryder is going to yank his arm back and very stressed and confused in his tone. He's going to say, "What did I just see?" And it's like his seat, he moves back in his seat. This is, if anyone's actually paying attention to Ryder, this is very noticeable, like, distress coming from him.
And we see Anagram lean forward and say, "You saw what I'm trying to prevent. You saw the reason I need to find Faye. Find her and bring her to me." And she stands up. We're going to cut over to Lighthammer at the buffet. Lighthammer, have you noticed any of this?
No, my back has been turned. I've been facing the buffet as I've been like walking down it, and I've been muttering under my breath like, "Can't even get his boyfriend a plate of food. Just what kind of useless boyfriend? Stupid fucking writer. So fucking annoying. Just wanted to get him food so I could sit down and like there's just like trailing off of muttering."
I like it. And at that, we get a tap on your shoulder. As you turn, there's a man in a what would look like a really nice business suit anywhere but a formal tuxedo event. And he gives you a bit of a smile and he goes, "Are you really Lighthammer?"
I like puff out my chest and I'm like, "Yes, I am."
And he reaches into a back pocket and pulls out a large envelope and goes, "Excellent, you've been served." Hands it to you and walks away. And stamped on the front of this envelope, we see a label that says, "From the office of Lighthammer." What do you do?
Uh, uh, um, I'm just kind of standing there like flabbergasted, and like I think we got like 2 panels of me standing there in silence, and then there's a immediate panel of me like looking around to see if like anyone else saw that. Did anyone see me get served?
I have a question. Is the
Mhm.
recording light on in your visor right now?
I left my visor at the table.
Ah, okay. Yes, one person in particular definitely saw you get served. Who was it?
I think Songbird is there.
Okay. She kind of gives you a bit of a look. Is everything okay?
I turn to her and I'm like, I I think the original Lighthammer is suing me. And I like show her the envelope. And then I'm like, you guys were active around the same time. Do you know him? Could you put in a good word for me? When you seek help from your audience, roll plus superior. I know that Songbird and I are kind of like mutual fans of each other. Does she count as my audience?
Yeah, I'll counter in this case.
Then I'm gonna roll plus superior. That's a 12.
All right.
On a 10 plus, they only make a small demand. Or on a hit, someone in your audience can hook you up. On a 10 plus, they only make a small demand.
She pulls out her phone and like is already texting as you're talking. Goes, I'll get a hold of him, see what I can do. I'll let you know, and we'll jump back into the demands of that later.
I like put my hand on her shoulder and I'm like, "Thank you. That really means a lot." And then I'm like, "Have you heard anything regarding the whole?" And my voice drops down like tiny text box remix thing.
She says, it's been pretty quiet, but I still have feelers out. I'll let you know the moment I hear something. Anything on your end?
Nope, it's been quiet on my end too.
Her phone at that point rings. She goes, okay, I gotta take this. I will see what I can do. I'll let you know.
I give her like another like shoulder squeeze, and then I head back towards the table. On my way, I stop and pick up a second glass of wine. I sit down at the table and I'm like, I like put the wine glass down, put the food down, and then I look over and I'm like, "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost."
We may need to get your food to go.
I kind of look at you and like cock an eyebrow, and then I lean forward and I'm like, "Is it Dark Rider? Is it your dad?
No,
What's going on?
it's my teammate.
Carl? Brian? What's happening with them?"
No. Faye. We need to find Faye.
You see my jaw tighten a little bit, and I'm like, "Right. Bang. Well, look, if I leave, Mike is gonna kill me." There's a little editor's note that's like, note, Mike Donnelly, Lighthammer's agent. I'm like, I need to stay for at least a little while, get a couple photographs, shake some hands, kiss some babies, that kind of thing. Can you give me an hour?
Ryder's going to look across the table where Anagram was sitting, because I'm assuming Anagram's left at this point.
Yeah, I think we see her just kind of mingling with the crowd.
Ryder's going to look over the cross table where Anagram was sitting, and then look back to Lighthammer and go, Yeah, we've got an hour. Let's go mingle. Well, let's finish eating. Then shake hands and kiss whatever it is you high profile types do.
And I think that there's probably not a lot of like talking while we're eating, but I am like constantly checking my phone, and I've tucked the envelope like into. Oh god, I don't have any pockets on my costume.
I like that. How about you've just been kind of hiding it under your plate?
Yeah, I think that works.
And there is obvious tension from both of you during this. Is there any point at which either of you is going to try and pierce masks during this?
I don't think so. I think I'm gonna wait until we're a little bit more in private and try to like have a conversation.
I agree. I think it's going to be just a really quiet, I'm going to be poking at my food while Lighthammer eats sort of situation.
And like the buffet dinner was a pretty nice spread, but Lighthammer knows like what you eat in public. So like Lighthammer got like a piece of fish, some vegetables, a small little salad, and like nothing that could be like at all spillable, and so like we're not eating for too long.
Okay, excellent. And where's your helmet during this? What is being live streamed?
It is off right now. I turned it off while we're eating.
Okay. So I think like we get the two of you finishing up eating and starting to stand when Leo comes and sits right in the chair that Anagram had been sitting in before. There's kind of an awkward moment, and he kind of looks between the two of you and then looks and goes, Fee, are you going to introduce me?
Yes, Uncle. Lighthammer? Uncle Leo. Uncle Leo? Lighthammer.
He holds out his hand and says, Lighthammer? What's your real name, son?
I put my hand and like kind of shake his, and I'm like, oh, I just primarily go by Lighthammer. Don't really do the whole secret identity thing.
We get a definite moment where he's still shaking your hands and like making direct eye contact with Felix. So,
You know how heroes are, Uncle.
I know they're supposed to be. Things these days are weird.
Ryder is going to kind of straighten up a little bit and take Lighthammer's hand and go and kind of pull Lighthammer's hand onto the table while holding it and say, how so, Uncle?
So he leans back and goes, you know, Lighthammer and I did a lot of good work together. If he chose this one as the next to carry on his name, I'm sure he made a good choice.
I don't think we've broken hand contact yet, and I look across the table and I'm like, actually, I chose the mantle for myself, sir. I couldn't think of a nobler hero for me to embody as I set out to make a difference in this world. I agree that you two did excellent work, and I think that your nephew and I are doing work that is just as important now.
He looks around and goes, I honestly can't disagree with you. Just remember what's important out there. You need to keep everyone safe. Your image isn't the thing that you should be focused on. And he is shifting your labels. He is shifting your savior up and your superior down.
I think I'm just going to accept that and mark condition. I think I'm going to mark insecure. I think I nod, and like my hand drops from his, and I kind of like end up with like looking down slightly, and I'm like, you're right. I'm here to protect what is important. And for me, that includes the citizens of this city. And I take Felix's hand and bring it back up above the table and like put it on the table in mine. And I'm like, and your nephew.
He looks at the two of you, starts to stand and goes, I like this one, Fee. And starts to walk away.
As he's leaving, I'm like, sir?
He stops.
The original Lighthammer, you knew him pretty well, right?
Yeah, Charles and I go way back.
If you see him, put in a good word for me.
He gives you a bit of an odd look and then goes, I will.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
After Leo walks away, Ryder's going to kind of look over at Lighthammer and go, wait, does he know you're using his name?
Pierce that mask?
That's an 8.
You have influence over Lighthammers. That's a 9.
That's a 9. I guess this would fall under what do you intend to do?
I reach under my plate and pull out the envelope, and I say, I think the original Lighthammer is suing me.
If you open that envelope, you're going to find cease and desist paperwork.
I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know that.
The smile on Felix's face is gone for the second time tonight. And he's like, wait, you really didn't ask?
No, I stole the hammer and the gauntlet and the helmet from a museum and took it upon myself to use them. Well, okay, I stole it with a friend, but I was like 14. It was like 3 years ago. I was an idiot kid, and you know,
And you're still using that same hammer?
I mean, it's the light hammer. It's what
Ugh.
the powers come from. Plus, it wasn't even like it was his last. Greyhammer had it before him.
At this point, Felix's hand is on his head, and he's just like rubbing his forehead in that, oh god, sort of look. And he's like, okay. So I think we should get out of here. I don't think you're getting publicity pictures as Lighthammer is going to help your situation at all right now.
I nod and I'm like, I think you're probably right, but I do need to at least thank the city councilman before we leave.
Mike can handle that. We need to go.
I'm going to do it, whether or not you come with me.
At this point, Ryder stands up and kind of walks kind of towards the door and then turns around and says, I'll meet you back at the hideout.
As you're leaving, I call out to you. I'm like, do we have to meet at the hideout? It's so dark there. We could meet at my place.
The hideout! And then he walks out the door.
I stand up and I'm going to go over to Franklin Lamont. I think he's standing up, mingling. He's probably talking to Monarch Man and Bomb Squad.
That feels right.
And I'm come up and I'm like, sir, I'm so sorry to interrupt. We have another engagement, but I wanted to say thank you so much for honoring us tonight and for including us in this really spectacular celebration.
As you're talking, he turns to face you, and when he first takes in who you are, you think for just a moment you see anger or maybe even disgust in his eyes, and then they quickly soften, and he's back to his all smiles, and he very heartily shakes your hand. He's like, I'm glad you could come out, and thank you for your service during the blockade.
I want to pierce the hell out of that mask.
Go ahead.
So that's a 2.
Or is your helmet on at this point? Or are you still holding it?
I'm holding it.
There's a small panel of you narrowing your eyes for just a moment. And then we get a panel of the handshake, and then a panel that shows your hand on a cellular level. And we see this bright green virus start invading through your cells. And then we cut back out. The handshake finishes, and Lighthammer's all smiles again.
I kind of nod at him, and I'm like, could we get a quick picture before I head out for the evening?
Of course. He puts his arm around your shoulder.
And I think there's probably an official photographer, not I'm taking a selfie on my phone.
Right.
So I think we pose for an official photo.
Yeah, I like that. And we're going to cut outside.
I probably got a car for us to come here, so he's probably either walking or doing his half flying thing. But I think for purposes of this, I think we'll say he's walking. And I'm just gonna jog up and catch up to him and take his hand and be like, well, that was less tragic than it could have been.
Does my energy react any weird to the quote unquote mutagen? Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I was kind of pacing a little bit out here waiting on you. How did that go?
He's so weird. He's such a weird grown up.
Aren't they all?
I mean,
aren't we all? I mean, look at us.
Put my head on your shoulder and I'm like, I don't think you're weird at all. I think that we kicked ass in there tonight, and well, we also finally told your uncle about us. And I think I'm probably sharing a triumphant celebration there. When you share a triumphant celebration with someone, say whether it's part of the show or not, if it is, you can shift your label. If not, then they shift your labels, and I can clear a condition or mark potential. I don't think that was part of the show. I think that was very that was us as us. So they get to shift my labels, and I can either clear a condition or mark potential.
I want to shift freak down and mundane up.
Cool.
So what does Ryder say in response to that?
Yeah, well, kind of. You're still hiding your original name. But it's a start. A good start.
I look at you and I'm like, okay, we've talked about that. I don't associate with that name anymore.
Well, then we need to find another, especially with Lighthammer suing you.
Yeah, I should probably actually read what the envelope says, but I'm, nervous.
Well, Ryder's going to look around and see, hopefully, that there's not that many people around.
Yeah, just normal street passerbys.
And say, well, no better time than now. Let's see what he's got to say.
I pull the envelope out and open it up.
It is a cease and desist letter from Lighthammer.
Did he mention the hammer at all?
There's a lot of legalese, but browsing through, it seems to primarily be the name and image. There's no mention of stolen property.
Well, that's not as bad as I was anticipating.
So, what does it say?
Oh, cease and desist, can't use the image anymore. Blah, 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 can't use the name. Blah,
Just your
blah.
entire life and livelihood.
So?
It's not too bad. It doesn't look too airtight, just based on the little bit I know about entertainment contracts. So I think I can probably have Mike look at this and just take care of it. But we'll cross that bridge in the morning. For now, I think let's just forget about it and enjoy the walk home.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? If all else fails, we could just call you the hero formerly known as Lighthammer. Ryder says as he kind of chuckles.
It worked for Princess.
That it did. And Ryder lifts his hands up and snaps his fingers, and his motorcycle goes and stops in front of them.
I look at you and I'm like, I thought we were taking the limos tonight.
It's not my style. You know that. You gonna get on?
Of course.
I think we get the two of you getting on the motorcycle, and right before you take off, you hear crying, and Asimov appears down on the end of one of the streets, kind of heading towards you.
Wait, is that Brian? Asimov?
I'm going to get off the bike and just kind of like run over to him, and I'm going to be like, what's going on? Are you okay?
Ryder will also get off the bike and follow suit.
You get a panel that's just a giant onomatopoeia. I don't really want to talk about it.
You're part of the team. What's going on? Maybe we can help.
Well, it's just me and Carl were, and then he kind of stops, and he kind of has a flashback to the fact that Carl has that amulet thing inside of him, and suddenly realizes, oh crap, I think I have to go back.
Okay, we'll go with you.
I think Carl's in danger.
Carl's in danger. Ryder's going to snap his fingers again, and the bike's going to come to him. And he's going to be like, everyone on. And as he says that, a sidecar just appears off the side, like forms out of energy. And he's like, Asimov, get in.
He gets in.
I get on.
And then I think if this is going to be the closing shot of the panel, it's going to be like them all driving off, and the words coming out, all right, where to?
I think the last panel of this bit, before we cut on to whatever Icy has for the conclusion, is just a text bubble as we like whip around the corner of Lighthammer saying, so much for date night.
At our very last panel, we cut back to Franklin Lamont, and he's sitting by himself at a table. There's still a decent bit of people at this gala, and he's tapping his fingers rhythmically on the table. And then we get a shot of his face with this big smile, and he says, "That was easier than I expected." Moon Harbor Heroes is produced by Anthony Sheets and TP Huth, and edited by Anthony Sheets. Anthony can be found on Twitter at Icy New Year, or at icynewyear.com. T is the host of Incubator on Air, a new play podcast available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. She can be found at thuth playwright on Twitter or tphuth94 on Instagram. Faces is GM by me, Anthony Sheets. Lighthammer is played by TP Huth. Ryder Typhen is played by Kaido Kane. Kaido is a Twitch personality and loves their 3 mischievous cats. You can find them at the Versian on Twitter, and as Kaido Kane on twitch.tv. Our logo was designed by Beautiful Beasties. She can be found on Instagram at beastly.doodles or at patreon.com/beautifulbeasties. The music in this issue is Black Vortex by Kevin MacLeod. A link to his website and the license will be in the show notes. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at moonharborheroes@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at moonharborcast. If you enjoyed this issue, please leave us a review on iTunes and tell a friend. Word of mouth and 5-star reviews are really the best way for us to keep bringing these stories to more people. If you'd like to support us financially, check us out on patreon.com/moonharborheroes. Supporting us there will give you access to bonus episodes each month. And thanks for helping us save the world. We'll see you next issue.